Check, 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 check. Okay,
Check,
that's
check.
like loud but
Check,
not
check.
quite peaking.
Tchaikovsky.
Okay,
Welcome.
welcome back to A24 Quest. This is our third take.
Is this our third take?
Hold on.
I thought this was our second take.
Welcome back to A24 Quest. This is our third take.
Yes.
It's been just a couple days since the last episode came out.
Yeah, just a couple.
Definitely nothing happened since the last episode, like in the world.
Nope, nothing.
When we last filmed an episode of this, you know, we were living in a good old normal world. No massive global pandemic or anything like that.
No huge political issues happening.
Yeah, no, like nobody stormed the White House,
no-
the Capitol building. My bad.
No riots spread across the world.
I was a theater lighting technician, and not a cook. So welcome back to
Is that
A24.
real?
What?
No, you were definitely working this job when we were last recording.
Oh, maybe I was. It's hard to say. Time really blurs together.
I was in college when we last recorded,
Yeah, and now you're not.
and now I'm not.
I'm a cook. You're in college.
I've failed.
Yeah. So it's gonna be okay. So we're doing this again, just because, like, offhand, I mentioned to Josh, like, I miss watching A24 movies, and Josh was like, we should get this started back up again. So here we are,
Here we are.
and I'm hoping not to miss a beat. I want to get right back into it.
We're literally picking up right where we left off. As per the editor notice on our last episode.
And you know what's funny? Okay, so the last episode had this little tag at the end of it where you picked The Last Action Star. Or no, that's an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. You picked
the last action hero.
Yeah, you picked The Last
boy.
Movie Star or whatever it's called, the one with that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
And there's like a little editor's note that says we're watching High Life instead, and I don't remember why
I don't know.
we were
either.
watching High Life instead.
I have a hunch it was like Alaharon was like, "Hey, I'm gonna watch this movie," and then we both were like, "Oh, that sounds like a cool thing to do."
Yeah, something like that.
And then we did, and didn't record another episode for
Yeah.
a very long time.
So it's been so long, in fact, that we've had to rewatch High Life, and you rewatched both movies.
Yes, because I didn't really remember the Disaster Artist.
I've seen Disaster Artist twice, and the last time was like about a year ago, and I feel like I know enough about it to really talk about it.
That's fair.
So
I hadn't seen it since we saw it in theaters.
yeah, that's been a while too.
It has.
Remember
been.
theaters?
Oh God, I remember theaters.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Oh,
Like all those people like really close to each other in a room together.
just like sharing chairs one after another.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's crazy days.
Speaking of disasters, do you want to talk about the Disaster Artist?
Absolutely. Have you ever wanted to watch James Franco portray a European man that swears to Christ that he is not a European man, but actually from Louisiana?
Is that what he says?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
New Orleans.
New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
Um,
All right, so if you're not familiar with the Disaster Artist, jeez, I need to take like elocution lessons. If you're not familiar with the Disaster Artist, which I mean, I feel like the thumbnail that's on screen right now is probably gonna kind of clue you in on what it's about. It's about The Room, not Room.
The Room.
The Room, the better of the two films, starring Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero.
Remember The Room?
Yeah, I do.
It's been a while since I've seen the movie The Room.
Well, you just saw Disaster Artist, and that's meant to replace the experience of watching The Room,
It
right?
really doesn't. Like that's okay. So the whole thing is, is
Okay, it's a biopic.
yeah,
It's your standard Ed Wood-esque biopic
of this guy named Tommy Wiseau, the creator and lead star of The Room.
And it's about basically the making of The Room, and it's based off of a book written by Greg Sestero. And it is...
Colin?
Yes?
So before we can do a rundown of this film, we need to do a rundown of The Room. You want to just talk about that for a minute?
Okay, it's been so long since I've recorded. I don't know if we've ever talked about The Room. The Room is probably my favorite bad movie. I think it's fair to say.
I don't like it.
Like, Miami Connection's pretty high up there.
I like Miami Connection.
Fateful Findings is pretty high.
I like things about Fateful Findings.
I think that's the holy trilogy. Trilogy.
Trinity.
It's like a cross between trilogy and Trinity, which is actually pretty fitting because I'm talking about movies.
I hate it.
It's the holy trinity of bad movies: The Room, Miami Connection, and Fateful Findings. Because you got like a flavor for every kind of like whack job who could actually enjoy these movies.
Yeah, I guess that's real.
The Room's great if you like over dramatic, if you like dramatic overacting. The Room's great. It feels like a stage theatrical production where everybody like thinks they can act,
and it's the acting in it is straight up horrible all the way around,
and it's just this focal point of this odd like Eastern European man. We don't know where he comes from or like how he made this movie or like why it happened, but he's just chewing the scenery. He's just giving it his all.
He really is.
And
he is doing that.
Yeah. It's commonly called one of the best bad movies, like the best bad movie. Like
it still gets midnight showings back when midnight showings were a thing. And people still flood them. You know, it still gets packed houses, kind of like your Rocky Horror Picture shows. And people go and they can repeat it line for line because it's regarded as one of the best bad movies.
Yes, and therein maybe lies the problem with The Disaster Artist. The Room is a really accessible, fun movie to watch, and I don't think The Disaster Artist needed to have been made.
No.
I feel like... Okay, let's break down The Disaster Artist real quick. The Disaster Artist is a biopic. And what's going to become very apparent when you watch it is that most biopics about bad filmmakers, they're like told about a filmmaker who is like either long dead or their heyday is long past, you know. And so they have that like detached kind of neutral light. Like Ed Wood was about a man who had been dead for, decades. So you can have this like unabashful view of this person's life. The thing with The Room, or The Disaster Artist, is Tommy Wiseau is still alive, and Tommy Wiseau is still actively making films.
Yeah, he just released
and
Best
Tommy
Friends.
Wiseau, volumes 1 and 2, the new cinematic universe, and the Tommy Wiseau was actively involved in The Disaster Artist.
Yeah,
and the problem with that is, if you've got the guy that you're making a movie about involved with the movie, you can't really... You kind of have to make him out as, like, a hero character. As, like, a good person, And that's kind of where The Disaster Artist goes. And, spoiler alert, that's not how things went down. Tommy Wiseau was kind of a flaming asshole.
I mean, so the thing is he is such a clueless individual most of the time in the film, and as far as I know, out of the film.
Yeah.
That they still kind of make him out to be a clueless asshole in the film, and I think that he just thought that was him being cool.
Yes,
I guess.
There's like one or two scenes where like he has that like meltdown and he gets angry at everybody, but that's just like a little thing. For the most part, he's portrayed as a pretty sympathetic character. And
he's just an asshole, and he got off real easy in this movie.
Yeah, yeah, he did.
But in the end, like the whole thing is literally just him, Tommy Wiseau, and Greg, his friend, get together. They go to California. They make this movie by literally Tommy Wiseau just pulling money out of his ass.
Yeah, nobody knows where the money came from.
Nope.
And here's the thing. The disaster artist like gets a lot of the facts right. But it's all the like if you like look at The Room and read like maybe the first 20 entries on the IMDb trivia page, there you have the plot points of the disaster artist. It's like a breakdown of like everything that people always say about The Room is in this movie. Like Tommy Wiseau financed this movie and nobody knew where the money came from. Tommy Wiseau shot the movie on film and digital simultaneously because he didn't know the difference between the two. You know, Tommy Wiseau built a set of an alleyway
right
next door to an actual alleyway that they could have just filmed in. Like, all that stuff is in the movie.
Yep.
And I guess the best word to describe this movie is, if you're like a casual fan of this movie, you might get a chuckle out of some of that stuff. But it's shallow, and it's kind of soulless.
Yeah.
It's kind of made to be fun, but there's not a lot of heart to it.
Yeah.
They try to force this, like this stereotypical, like, feel-good movie story to it. All this, like, manufactured drama.
I mean, they've been doing that in a lot of films lately anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they've been doing it for ages. But lately I've been seeing it pretty clearly in a lot of these biopics that turn out to be a little bit more movie than biopic.
To be fair, that's okay. Like I mentioned Ed
okay.
Wood. I think Ed Wood's one of my favorite biopics, if not my favorite. And Ed Wood is like a complete, like, good swaths of that movie are complete fabrications. But the thing is it's a good movie and the narrative works. And Ed Wood was kind of a larger-than-life character, and if you want to make this, like, theatrical story about him, if you, like, a little bit of embellishment is okay, because it's a movie, it's not a documentary.
Yeah.
You know, you want it to have movie flair. And the problem is when the disaster artist attempts this, it feels generic.
Well, it doesn't feel like a movie, it still just feels like a biopic.
Yeah.
Like a generic biopic.
It doesn't have a lot of personality to it. It's like...
But you know who does?
Who?
James Franco.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably the best thing about the movie.
He is definitely the best thing about the movie, because his acting is pretty on point as far as getting Tommy Wiseau and his mannerisms down.
Yes, I would agree with that. He did just about as good a job as anybody probably could have done doing a Tommy Wiseau impression.
Yeah, I don't know who could have done a better job than him. And honestly, I don't see James Franco as a great actor. So
no, in fact, we've seen him in A24 movies
That's
where he's
true.
not a good actor. I've seen Adderall Diaries. I see you, James Franco.
I don't remember that movie. Don't try to bring it up.
Anywho. This is so I really don't like comparing a movie to another movie for no reason, but the Ed Wood comparison kept coming up when I was like thinking about how to talk about disaster artists, because it's like Ed Wood has like a theatrical Hollywood story put into this like real life narrative that definitely wasn't there in real life. But Ed Wood is quirky, heartfelt, interesting, and really fun and unique. So, and I wouldn't really attribute any of those words to the disaster artist.
No.
It's certainly not unique. It's just about as generic as a biopic can get. It's not that quirky, because it's just literally restating the facts of what happened.
Yeah, if you want quirky, go watch The Room.
Yeah. Yeah, The Room's quirky because, like, what the hell? This is straightforward. Just like this weird. Whoa, guys, this weird thing happened. Let's just do a shot for shot recreation of it.
Quick side: is The Room still completely 100% free on YouTube?
It might be. I don't know.
Double check on YouTube. Last I saw, it was 100% free to watch the entirety of The Room. in full on YouTube. It was great.
Yeah.
In a bad way.
Absolutely. I would highly recommend watching The Room.
So the takeaway of The Disaster Artist is go watch Ed Wood.
Yes, if you like the idea of a movie about aspiring filmmaker who is incompetent, but he's got the spirit, watch Ed Wood. If you watch The Room and you love it, I would recommend watching The Room before Disaster Artist, because if you watch Disaster Artist without seeing The Room, you're just gonna be completely lost.
You're gonna be like, what the fuck is happening? Yeah. Who are these people? Why is this man this way? Yeah. So my recommendation is watch The Room. If you love it, you'll probably like The Disaster Artist. It's not gonna be like this game changer, but it's you'll probably get some enjoyment out of it. Yeah.
But don't be expecting a masterpiece. If you like the concept of The Disaster Artist, you want to see it done really well by Tim Burton, then watch Ed Wood.
That's by Tim Burton, huh?
It is. It's one of Tim Burton. It's Tim Burton's like best movie.
Neat.
I think it's really, really masterfully done. It's like before he stopped making good movies.
Oh, hot damn!
It's like one of his last good movies.
Hot damn!
It was like that. Then Mars Attacks was, it was pretty good, and then he really fell off after that.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so my recommendation for The Disaster Artist is watch The Room, and then The Disaster Artist, and then Ed Wood. There you are.
So, Colin.
Yeah.
You want to argue the positive side of High Life?
Oh, man.
And I'll argue the negative?
We're jumping right into High Life, huh?
I mean, I guess we have to.
Oh, okay. This is going to be rough. Because The Disaster Artist is easy to talk about.
And that's why I wanted that one to go first. That was just a quick get her done out of the way.
Okay. So, High Life is like the lighthouse in space.
I don't like it, but you're right. I don't like that you're right.
As I was watching High Life, we were talking about the lighthouse. And talking about what movie would pair well with The Lighthouse. And as I was watching The High Life, I was like, this movie would pair well with The Lighthouse. If you want a movie about, what's his name? Edward Cullen, stranded in an unusual environment where he's just like alone and stir crazy.
Yes, but at the same time, I mean, we're not going to get into The Lighthouse here. This is a
very different movie from The Lighthouse.
It's very different, and we're not going to get into The Lighthouse here.
Yeah. We're going to save that for
another episode. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like about this movie, and there's a lot to dislike about this movie for me, personally.
I agree.
Okay.
I'm more on the like side than the dislike side because I'm a pretentious asshole.
Yeah.
And I like this kind of movie. Generally speaking. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just break it down. What is High Life? High Life, the premise is there is a spaceship way out in the farthest reaches of the universe
just
that is
shooting out, manned
by death row inmates. Everybody, including like the person who's in charge, is apparently a criminal. It's completely run by criminals. And its mission is twofold. A, these death row inmates are used as human fodder to, like guinea pigs, essentially, to send through a black hole. That's their mission. And B, the criminal doctor on board, who is revealed to have murdered her family, she's trying to breed a race of super baby because she's impregnating all the women on the ship.
Yep.
And they're having babies, but the babies die because of the radiation in space.
Space radiation.
And she's doing this until she can get a baby that can live, and she thinks this will be a higher life form because it'll be conditioned to survive the harsh environment of space.
Now, I wouldn't blame you as the average moviegoer to not pick up on a lot of this.
Yeah, and the only reason I know like what the hell is going on is because I've seen it 2 times. And the second time, I could kind of focus on what's going on. Yeah, I wouldn't blame you if you didn't pick up on any of that, really.
Yeah. It's real easy to miss a lot of it. The parts that you're definitely going to pick up, all right? Spaceship, there's criminals on it. You don't know if the doctor's a criminal or not, really, until later on.
Yeah, there's like one line of dialogue that implies she might be.
Yep.
Where she's talking in her weird broken English, which I guess we can get to, where she's like, "All you children," what's her line? She's
I
like,
don't know,
"All
man.
you children are nothing compared, and your crimes are nothing compared to mine," or something. And you're like, "Oh, okay." She's like she's got a criminal past.
Cool, you're bad too.
Okay.
So yeah, the things you're gonna get. Spaceship run by convicts, shooting out into space. Earth is trying to figure out what to do with their actual convicts in a political system. And then, are we just going to say spoilers for High Life?
Nay. Oh man, that's a tough one. Because there's a lot of things that you kind of have to talk about that are spoilery. I'm going to say let's not give away some of the more climactic things that happen later in the movie, but let's go like mild spoilers.
Okay.
To talk about the general premise.
Okay, so it kicks off right away. You have Robert Pattinson taking care of a baby on an empty spaceship.
Right.
And then we start going and seeing what happened to lead up to this point. And he
the convict storyline is essentially a big flashback inside the like shell outer narrative of Robert Pattinson is alone on the spaceship with a baby. And that starts out, that's all you know.
There's just really slow.
Yes.
It's a very slow movie. And
the scenes,
tells you that right away.
The scenes with Robert Pattinson and the baby on the spaceship are extremely slow and very naturalistic, and they feel a ghost story-esque in how they're paced.
Kind of monotonous. The baby crying is very grating to the ears. Granted, it's probably supposed to be.
Yeah.
Does it make it any better to watch? No.
And well, yeah, and it handles its narrative in an interesting way because it starts out with zero plot.
Yep.
You're like, these two folks are on a spaceship. You don't know why. And he leaves like a log entry about he's like abandoning the mission, and he says, "I know the consequences," and he ends the log entry by saying, "Go fuck yourself." And you're like, okay, what's this? Why is he?
What's this?
Why is he so mad at the log entry? And then
card. What happened?
You see him loading up, like roughly 20 minutes into the movie. You see him loading up a room full of dead bodies into space suits and ejecting them from the ship.
Which I have a big problem with, but that's just because I went in that situation. Why the hell would you get rid of space suits? But anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of things in this movie that I start going...
You can't think about this movie logically.
No, don't. It's not worth your time or energy.
I think he did the space suit thing to give them a decent burial.
I mean, that's a good theory.
Because I feel like if you throw like the bodies out into space, they're just going to, as we see later in the movie. But that's kind of spoiler territory, but we're not going to get there. Anyway,
okay.
I feel like he kind of respects the people that he's throwing off the ship because they're just in the same situation as him and they just happen to die.
It could be.
And he's given them like a decent burial because he's not a bad guy. This Robert Pattinson. His only crime is murdering his best friend because his best friend killed his dog as a child.
Is that what we got out of all of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I just remember seeing dead dog, dead girl, and
a lot of things in this movie aren't said but implied. You just sort of have to pick up on it.
See, the implication for me was the dog died. I didn't know why, and then the girl died, and he got blamed for it, and I wasn't sure if he did it or not.
I think he did. Okay. I think I'm gonna roll with that.
Sure, let's go with it.
So he suits up all his former colleagues or former prisoners and throws them out in space. And that leads to like my favorite shot of the movie, which is the body.
The title card.
Yeah, the title card is phenomenal.
probably the best shot in the movie.
Because it's like, it's this
Yeah.
wonderful shot of like the blackness of space, and you slowly see these bodies just like falling through the frame, and then high life in big letters on the screen. It's just really beautiful.
Yeah.
And it actually ties into like one of my favorite aspects of this movie is how space is portrayed. It's less of like a scientific, realistic portrayal, less of a like dramatic movie portrayal, and more of like an artistic portrayal.
Yeah, it feels
Space
like
is-
a foreign planet almost.
Yeah, space is like a blackness. There's literally nothing to it.
Yeah.
When he's out in space, you don't see stars. You might see stars, but it's largely just like black, and
Yeah.
there's no sound. You don't get that gravity thing where you hear the of him breathing
Yeah,
against
not
his.
really.
It's completely silent.
Dead silent, completely black, and there's still like
There's
minor
gravity. There's gravity out in space, which is the one thing that really confused me on my first watch.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't pick up on what kind of movie this was supposed to be. I thought it was like a straight up sci-fi movie, and it's a movie that would really upset Alharan, however you pronounce his name. It's a movie that would really upset him because it uses science fiction as a catalyst for artistic ideas rather than actually respecting the science.
Yeah.
Because it does not respect the science in any way. There's gravity in space. Like when he pushes the people out of the spaceship, they don't just like float away. They just drop off as if he's like pushing them off a cliff.
Yep, like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah. And then they just like roll down the side of the spaceship, and it's like, oh, okay.
The one thing that
Maybe there's a gravity field around the spaceship.
Well, they talked about gravity actually. They specifically said there is gravity on this ship because it is traveling so fast in space that it keeps us so that our feet are on the ground.
Okay.
That was their theory, and
I guess is that how it works?
No.
Okay.
Not really.
It's traveling so fast that our feet are glued to the ground.
it doesn't work.
It's
but
a
that's
French
fine.
movie. They don't need your pitiful science.
Yeah, not.
They're about crimes of passion. They write movies about crimes of passion. They don't need science and boring nerd talk.
And this is actually where we get to the other French movie that I remember watching. Tangential acquaintance. Snowpiercer has a lot of.
Snowpiercer is not a French movie.
It's based on a French comic.
Is it?
It is.
Okay. It's a South Korean movie. But go on.
Yeah, it's a weird mix of things, isn't it?
It is South Korean, Chris Hemsworth, and no, who's in that movie?
You know, South Korean Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Evans.
Chris Evans.
Is that his name?
Yes. it
Yeah.
is. Yeah. Captain South Korea.
Captain South Korea is in that movie.
But no, it's based on a French comic, but it also kind of has that willy-nilly sci-fi nonsense going on where they don't really explain anything.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm fine with it.
I am too. I think it lends more to the story actually, because you can just like say things work and you don't have to spend too much time dealing with, you know, the logistics of talking about it.
You know, I feel like there comes a certain point in science fiction writing where you have to say like this works because of the way it is, and the audience just has to accept that.
Yep.
Because I mean, like Star Trek does this all the time. There are plenty of episodes in Star Trek where like the scientific mechanics of what's going on make zero sense. Like it's just complete fantasy, but it doesn't matter because it's about the stories and it's about the characters and the situations.
And I mean, some go a lot farther to try to hide the fact that they're just blowing it off, but this one didn't
even bother.
Nope,
no,
not at all.
It is the way it is. It's like it's half of a space movie, half of a French extremists kind of horror movie,
Art film,
art house horror movie. It's listed on IMDb as a horror movie,
Really?
and I found that interesting.
That is interesting.
And it's very similar to Climax.
It definitely has some similarities to Climax. I mean, okay, so let's get to that.
Well,
The
we'll get to that.
doctor
Yeah.
Harvests orgasm.
Sperm. She harvests. Well, literally, she's harvesting sperm from people. I don't know if she harvest orgasms, if I'm going to be honest with you.
She goes into the sex room herself.
I think she was just blowing off some steam.
Oh, you think that's what that scene was?
I don't know what that scene was. Okay, so the doctor goes into the sex room, which is essentially, it's just a what do you call that?
It's a rocking sex chair.
Yeah, it's a sex chair, rocking something, whatever.
Yeah. Do you remember Burn After Reading?
I've never seen that movie.
You've never seen Burn After Reading?
No, it's one of the only like Coen Brothers movies I haven't seen.
Oh my god. You're missing out. George Clooney builds this sex chair.
Okay.
Anyway. It's a sex chair. You rock on it and it penetrates you.
I think you and I watched that movie, but it was like one of those, it was super late and I fell asleep halfway through it.
Oh, could be.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember vaguely some things about it.
It was enjoyable. I enjoyed it. But anyway, sex chair. She uses it, and you think that was just blowing off steam?
I don't know.
I don't
know, Josh.
I don't either. I couldn't tell you, man.
I think she was just straight up masturbating. That's how they masturbate in the future. Only thing is, it's covered in blood by the end of it, which is a little odd.
It turns into like a beast at one point. Like, it turns furry for a hot second.
Maybe that's just visual flair.
Yeah, I think there's some metaphors going on there that I definitely didn't catch.
Yeah, that's like one of the most confusing things in the movie, and that's saying something.
But yeah, it's frustrating. This movie can get frustrating.
It can. And I would like to get to, I'm going to be as vague as possible with the things I disliked about the movie, because they all kind of have to do with the ending. The climactic scene in which the subplot of the flashback where like we see what happened prior to him being stranded on the space station with this girl who is his daughter, biologically speaking anyway. Oh, this movie's weird.
Weird.
Anyway, they wrap up that whole subplot, and then we go back to the shell story of him stranded on. And after the flashback subplot wraps up, I feel like the movie just kind of meanders to a close. The last like 30 minutes aren't super engaging.
Well, I mean, it ends like it opens.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
it's
I guess it
kinda
bookends it pretty well.
It's just kind of slow, monotonous, daily kind of work stuff. It kind of feels.
And then there's this surreal sequence where they, and then they discover a derelict shuttlecraft with no life forms on it besides dogs.
And that was super cool. I don't know what that's all about, but that was super cool.
I think the implication is that was another experiment.
So like people turn to dogs?
Or no, just send dogs out and see what happens.
Dogs in space?
I don't know. I think
all dogs go to space?
I think that was the implication. It has something to do with the fact that Robert Pattinson killed a dog, or his dog died.
I'm sure it's some big symbolic thing to the director.
Yeah, and it's... yeah, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But that's okay, because this movie's kind of avant-garde. And I feel like you could dig deep into it and find some sort of meaning. But it's like at that point, things going on aren't super engaging. You're just kind of ready for it to be done.
Yeah.
And that being said, the ending's very abrupt and anticlimactic.
Yeah. So, like, to put it in perspective... High Life is 2 hours long.
Yeah.
I enjoy probably about an hour's worth of it. And the other hour, I could just kind of take it or leave it. It's not anything amazing. It's a lot of pretty pictures most of the time. But that's about it. Here's
the question I'll pose to you, and I think this should like be really revealing about the overall quality of the film. What was High Life about? And I don't mean literal plot. I mean, what is the message that the film is trying to convey?
What is the message the film is...
What is Claire Denis, the director, what is she trying to say with this movie?
Life finds a way.
Life finds a way. Because I'm asking you this question because I genuinely don't have an answer for it.
I don't really know. It's probably something along the lines of...
It is
you
about...
do what you must to keep going.
In a literal sense, the movie... one of the few, like, political statements the movie makes is how messed up it is that how we treat prisoners, you know?
It's true.
And in a literal sense, you could call that a message. It's not really what the movie's about, though.
No, not really.
The movie is about... rape is bad?
Rape's bad, but in the end, not
in the end,
bad?
Not... well... There's a very strange sequence in the movie where there's an attempted rape scene where a male prisoner strips down naked and forces himself on a sleeping female prisoner. And it's depicted as horrific, because of course it is.
Yeah,
and
definitely
it's
horrific.
A very terrifying scene, very traumatizing. And then not 15 minutes later, it happens again, but it's a female prisoner forcing herself on a male prisoner, and it's depicted as kind of tender.
Yeah.
And I found it really creepy. I think it's supposed to be creepy
it's definitely
too.
Creepy.
But it's just it might be trying to say something about double standards. I don't know. I don't know.
I definitely don't feel like that was the intention of the film, though. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
In the end, I think, this movie has so much meaning to the director, but
I think this is the hurdle a lot of art movies have to come across, because this is an art movie first and foremost. You have to ask yourself, like, what is the movie trying to get across? What message is it trying to get across? Even if it's a vague message or like a vague meditation on something, it has to have something that it's about. And there certainly is something that High Life is about. I just doesn't really get its message across very well. Like, even the most anomalous, avant-garde, abstract art movies out there, like The Holy Mountain and A Ghost Story, you can generally say, like, what they're trying to be about. A Ghost Story is about the enormity of time and the role and, like, humans don't, like, savor the moment to moment, and then it's just, like, gone, and it's like love is eternal, and it's vague stuff,
existential,
but it's
stuff.
But at least it's kind of about something.
Yeah,
like The Holy Mountain is very specifically about how religion controls the population.
God, I still have to watch that.
And it's a fantastic movie, and we need to watch it very soon. I'm
waiting for that nice 4K re-release they were going to do.
I know. Every time I want to sit down and watch The Holy Mountain with somebody, they, like, announce a new release of it that I have to get to be up to date. Anywho, but I can't really say what High Life is about.
Yeah, the like I said, the best I got is something along the lines of, you find things to be appreciative of, or life will always find a way, yada yada.
Sure, yeah.
Jeff Goldblum, dinosaurs.
I guess.
It's not a good answer.
Yeah, also, black holes are whack.
Black holes? Shit, dude, those things are whack, yo.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not good.
Yeah, it'll pop you like a grape.
There you go.
That was like, oh god, I almost wanted to laugh just the way that's portrayed when her head explodes in the spacesuit visor. It's like so not like Hollywood violent. It's just
yeah.
It's like, oh my god. Oh, it's one of the most like harrowing moments. It's a very like rough movie to watch because it just makes you uncomfortable, and it makes you really like unnerved and on edge. And I guess that's why they call it a horror movie. I don't really consider it that.
I wouldn't either. I'm not scared.
It's a horror movie because horrific things tend to happen in it, but it's more like it's got shades of French extremism in it, where it's like no holds barred, like horrible stuff happens,
Yeah. It's yeah.
Same thing with Climax, which is another French extremist movie, which is a hell of a lot easier to talk about than this, and I'm very excited about it.
So before we get into that,
yes,
would you recommend High Life to a normal viewer?
Okay, would I recommend High Life to a open-minded 20-something who has an appreciation for movies but doesn't generally watch movies like this? Yes. Because I think it's worth giving a shot. You might get something out of it. It's probably going to be memorable. I mean...
You'll remember something about it.
Yeah, parts of it will stick in your mind, certainly. I would give it a recommendation, just be like, all right, might not be your thing. Just kind of go in with an open mind. You might enjoy it, you might not. Would I recommend this to grandma? Probably not.
Would you recommend this to like a 40-something-year-old?
A 40-something-year-old named Trent who wears leather jackets and he loves Family Guy.
Yeah, and he's got a dog named Scout.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
Okay, me neither.
Because they'd be like, well, first of all, they're gonna be like, ain't there supposed to be aliens? Aliens in space, ain't no aliens, goddammit.
Who's this vampire pussy?
The last I saw this fella, last I saw this twinky little feller, he was covered in glitter.
And I ain't talking about the strip club.
So no, I wouldn't recommend it to that. To your average audiences might not get a lot out of this movie. In fact, they might actively hate it.
Yeah, I'd say actively hate it.
So that's like a half a recommendation for me. Who would you recommend this movie to?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I would recommend this to art students. I would recommend this to film buffs that like more of the avant-garde kind of scene, the more art house films.
It's a sliding scale recommendation. Art house fans, absolutely check it out.
Yes,
it's a definite. I wouldn't call it a must watch, but it's like certainly worth your time if you're into this kind of thing.
So beyond absolutely sick of modern day nonsense movies, your superhero movies, your natural biopics of every single person under the sun that you've ever seen, and you just want something else. This is definitely something else.
Yes.
Will you like it? I don't know, but it's something else.
Yeah.
That's about all I got.
Would you recommend The Disaster Artist? We kind of already went over that.
I would recommend The Disaster Artist in a 15-minute condensed version of it.
Yeah, just look up scenes on YouTube.
Yep. The last 10 minutes of that film are just shot-by-shot recreations of The Room.
I bet you
really
you can find one of those. Like the trend on YouTube now is compilation videos, but the format of the title is Tommy Wiseau being iconic for 5 minutes and 47 seconds. I bet you can find something like that.
I bet you can.
About The Disaster Artist.
Yeah, watch that.
Yeah, find that.
There you go.
and then that's about it. Watch The Room. Watch Ed Wood.
Yeah.
Watch The Holy Mountain.
Yeah.
And watch A Ghost Story.
Also, only if you like those kinds of films, which are super art house.
Yes. Actually, even if you don't like the kind of film, still watch The Holy Mountain, because it's an experience you'll never forget.
Well, that one I can't say, because like I said, haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Anywho.
Next week.
Yeah, who wins this episode?
Definitely High Life, I'd say.
Yes, I agree.
Like, I may not love it, but
exactly.
It definitely wins.
High Life is an artistic accomplishment. What it actually accomplished, I don't know. But it is an artistic accomplishment of some sort. The Disaster Artist is just bland and boring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. High Life wins.
You ready to climax?
You gonna buy me a drink first?
No. Not at all.
Okay, so next week we've made a decision, and I think you're gonna be able to see which of the two of us made this decision mostly. Next week we've decided to pair up Climax, which is the newest film by Gaspar Noé, known for Enter the Void.
Remember Enter the Void?
I do. I remember watching it with your younger brother, and then we found out we had the unrated cut with all the unsimulated sex in it.
Yeah. Remember how it just kept getting worse and
It
worse?
just kept getting worse and worse, and I was like, hold on, I don't remember any of this happening from when I saw this before. I swear to God.
It's like, because you had seen it, and you were like, yeah, there's some sex
Yeah, because
in
the
there.
theatrical cut, it's a little raunchy, but
Yeah,
it's
there's some
not
sex
like...
in there, but like it's not too bad, so we can watch it with your younger brother. It's no problem.
Yeah, your
So we hit
17-year-old
play.
brother.
And we're sitting there, we're watching it, and you're like, oh, I don't remember this sex scene. That's kind of bad. And then we got to
Yeah.
the next one, you're like, oh, I remember this one. It's getting kind of worse, though.
Yeah, it's kind
And then
of...
more came.
And then the last 20-ish minutes of the movie is hardcore pornography?
Yeah!
Like, just keeps going. Just keeps
and
going.
we spent the last 20 minutes just laughing our asses off because it just kept getting worse.
Jacob just desperately trying to avoid eye contact with anybody.
Oh god, it was so
oh,
funny.
good lord.
I asked him if he remembered that, and he said yeah.
Oh, no kidding, yeah.
And
remember that time when... Remember the time when you sat down with your older brother and the family friend of like 8 years and watched porn for 20 minutes? Yeah, you remember that? Okay.
I think you'll have to cut that. That's technically illegal.
I don't think anybody's gonna get. It's on Amazon Prime. It's not like it's illegal to watch it, you know.
It's illegal to watch it.
You don't have. Hey, we didn't have to say, "Are you 18 or older?" before watching it, so therefore,
that's true.
Yeah. It's good for all ages. It's a family film.
Holy.
Anyway, we've been talking about Enter the Void. I feel like we're going to talk more about Enter the Void when we cover Climax because it's kind of hard not to.
Yeah. I'd say so.
Yeah, in the next episode, we're watching Climax, which, Josh, you haven't seen yet,
nope.
right? I've seen, and
I assume it has sex in it.
You know what? It's very tame compared to Enter the Void. It's got very little in terms of sexual content. There's a scene or two.
Did you watch the theatrical version or the unrated?
I don't think there is an unrated version, but yes, I did watch the theatrical version. Yeah, that's pretty watered down, and I think it's because he released it under A24.
Okay.
It probably has something to do with that. He was like, I'm going to tone down on that, but I'm not compromising on the other stuff.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And, yeah, that movie's... Ooh boy. Oh, good lord.
Oh, boy. All right.
It's a
and then to pair
fun
with
time.
Climax.
And I chose a movie called In Fabric, which I know next to nothing about, other than it's a Italian giallo inspired film, as Climax is. This is why we paired the two together.
Want to explain what that is, because I didn't know about it.
Okay, it's Italian giallo. Giallo is like Italian, like basically translated, it's like Italian slasher movies. Italian horror from like the 70s and 80s. Generally characterized by really sleazy content and lit by like brilliant pinks and greens and like weird neon hues. Like there's a whole aesthetic to giallo. Like the original Suspiria is kind of a giallo film, and like Zombie is a giallo film, and that kind of thing. In Fabric's kind of a modern inspiration, modern take on a giallo type film. It's a British film about a haunted dress.
I'm excited.
And I'm very excited for it.
Yeah.
And actually, there is a theatrical and an unrated cut. Do you want to watch the unrated cut or the theatrical? I feel like as reviewers, it's our responsibility to watch the unrated cut, because we can't like willfully like cut ourselves away from content. So
you want to watch it together with my brother?
Yes. Yes, I mean, genuinely, it can't be any less bad than
It really
it can't be any
be
worse
any more
than what we've already been through with him. Hell,
very
even if
true.
we watched Holy Mountain with him, that'd be pretty tame compared to like what we went through.
Like you said, we'd have to start going to like Pornhub to get any worse.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It
Essentially,
was,
yes.
It was
Graphic.
It was incredibly graphic.
And Holy Mountain's pretty graphic too, but I think Enter the Void kind of edges it out.
Oh my god. Yeah, it was non-stop.
So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this episode. It's gonna be just a sleazy horror double feature, just absolutely drenched in pink light, and I'm so excited for it.
Like my last Saturday afternoon.
Yes. How do we end these again?
I don't think we do.
Okay.
They just kind of
it just keeps
themselves.
going. Yeah.
Yeah. In Fabric. Climax.
Go watch them. I think we're going to be continuing to do this on a weekly basis. We plan on recording on Sundays. I'll probably get this up on a Monday. Tomorrow I'm going to watch In Fabric, and I'm very excited to do so. And I'll get this episode up.
I'm probably going to do the same.
And you're going to get this episode up too. We're going to put it on 2 separate channels.
Yep. We're going to get them both
you know what we should do?
And take them down.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm going to do? What we do is we're just recording omnidirectional on this lovely Blue Yeti microphone that I just tapped. We're just recording omnidirectional between the two of us. What we should do next time is you get your own mic and I get my own mic, and then we record my half of it on my channel and your half on your channel. And what the viewer has to do is they have to sync the two up. And then what we do is
I
after...
thought you were going to say something along the lines of being like hyper-professional and we each get our own mic.
That would be a good idea too. But I think this is even better because first of all, we get twice the views. Second of all, it stimulates audience engagement. And third of all, the genius of it is after both videos have been up for a week, we both content strike each other. Copyright strike each other for taking each other's content and get both channels deleted.
I like it. I mean, I couldn't think of a better way.
Beautiful. It's like in the old Mission Impossible films where they get, or in the show even, where they get instructions on a little tape that self-destructs. You know, you only have a certain amount of time to watch these videos before they're deleted forever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like 2 planes playing chicken.
Yeah, absolutely.
And neither of us are pulling out. Climax next week In Fabric next week.
You heard it here first. See ya.
Goodbye.